guys, Michael here with another episode of Star Wars News and Views. Today I'm just going to be talking about something that I haven't actually really found any other, not even just a video of it online. I haven't even found a webpage or forum posts about this, which is kind of surprising to me. I'm sure there is somewhere out there, but we're going to be talking about the origin of the name Kylo Ren. So I'm talking behind the scenes type of stuff. We have seen the name Kylo Ren already in the Star Wars universe, kind of.
I'd gladly take that chance to get to you, Kylo Ren.
So going back to when The Force Awakens was coming out in 2015, J.J. Abrams spoke to Entertainment Weekly kind of about the origin of the characters' names. So for example, Poe Dameron is a combination of his assistant, whose last name was Dameron, and I believe it was his daughter had a stuffed polar bear that she called Poe. One of the most interesting things was he says Captain Phasma's name comes from the late 70s horror movie Phantasm, which has this like shiny chrome ball. It actually became its own franchise in the 80s. So the character of Kylo Ren started off as what was called the Jedi Killer. That was sort of the generic name that they gave him in the sort of early story development. They knew he would be a masked character, and that eventually became Kylo Ren, who was then merged with the Ben Solo's character. But no one's ever mentioned where that name, Kylo Ren, where did they get that name from, right? Jedi Killer is just a generic name, and then someone at some point gave him the name Kylo Ren. So it's kind of hard to know who exactly it was that came up with that name, because according to the book The Art of the Force Awakens, Michael Arndt turned in his draft in August of 2013, and the character was still called Jedi Killer. Then Lawrence Kasdan took over, but by January of 2014, only 5 months before filming was going to start, the character was still just called the generic Jedi Killer. So the evolution of Kylo Ren, the character, and the name was a very late addition. And the thing that makes this most interesting is we've kind of already seen the name Kylo Ren in the Star Wars universe, which I'm going to get to, kind of, anyway. I'm going to get to that. So let's backtrack a little bit. So I grew up in the second half of the 1980s, and when I was a kid, there was a television show on TV, a cartoon show called Droids, and it was produced by Lucasfilm. It was a Saturday morning animation, and it aired around the same time as Transformers and G.I. Joe and like Thundercats, Masters of the Universe, you know, that whole mid-80s era. It began airing in 1985, I believe. And I used to watch a couple episodes on reruns here and there. It only lasted like 2 seasons. So this was a cartoon show that followed the adventures of R2-D2 and C-3PO before episode 4. It was a show I watched as a kid, and I've seen it again when I was a teenager. They re-released some episodes on video in 1997. Man, I rewatched a couple episodes, and one of the characters in the show is named Kylo Ren. And one of the episodes of the show is called The Revenge of Kylo Ren. So just let that sink in for a minute.
Damasan has not seen the last of Kylo Ren. No one tricks Kylo Ren. Ha ha! No one sneaks up on Kylo Ren. It takes more than a pack of yapping sungwas to catch Kylo Ren.
Is this a coincidence? I don't think so. This is a show produced by Lucasfilm. At the time, George Lucas was kind of semi-retired, and he was involved with the show. It had the cast of Anthony Daniels in it. And there was this character named Kylo Ren, who was actually voiced by the same voice actor who plays one of the main characters in the show, Don Franks. And he's a voice actor that's been around for a long time. He's done lots of stuff, and his daughter actually is a really big voice actress, especially at that time in the 80s. She's on the show. She's in the Kylo Ren episodes, and she played Penny in Inspector Gadget. So there's actually a whole Kylo Ren story arc in Droids. It goes on for like 3 or 4 episodes. And in fact, some of these episodes were released on video. There was very limited video releases of this in the 80s at the time. And if you look at some of the packaging of the video cassettes, it says, you know, it lists the titles of the episodes, and one of them is The Revenge of Kylo Ren. And basically the character of Kylo Ren is this space pirate. You see a lot of them in the show, and he's racing against bounty hunter IG-88 for possession of this scepter. So I don't think anyone involved in the writing of the Force Awakens, whether it was Michael Arndt or Lawrence Kasdan or George Lucas or J.J. Abrams or whomever, I don't think they did this deliberately as a tribute. I think whoever it was that either suggested it or came up with it or whatever, that subconsciously that name had been sitting there percolating in the back of their mind, this distant memory that there was this episode of Droids with this character named Kylo Ren.
Jaren! No one stops Kylo Ren. Blast him.
Stop where you are, Kylo Ren.
I'll save you, Princess Jaren. Get back, you knave.
J.J. Abrams grew up in the 70s, but he's actually born in 1966, so he would have been about 20 years old by the time this show was on, so I doubt he was watching it. And Michael Arndt's about the same age. So I'm not going to say it was because of them. It could have been someone at Lucasfilm. You know, maybe someone in the story group suggested it. Pablo Hidalgo was born in 1974. He would have been 10 and 11 when this show was first airing, kind of the perfect age. I want to say this is probably due to someone in the Lucasfilm story group, and I'm kind of looking at Pablo Hidalgo. I was able to dig deep and find one other person that noticed this whole Kylo Ren thing, and they asked Pablo Hidalgo about it, because Pablo Hidalgo is very active on Twitter, and he said it's just a coincidence, and that he noticed it when they decided on Kylo Ren, and they said they didn't care about it being very similar to a Droids reference. I don't buy that. We know that the Lucasfilm story group kind of feeds them information, sometimes taken from the expanded universe material, like Thrawn being in Rebels, and the Guardians of the Wills. The Wills are in Rogue One. I don't think that was Gareth Edwards' idea, right? And also just feeding them stuff that is just coming off the top of their head. That's the whole point of having the story group, is not just to keep things in continuity, but to also improvise and come up with some new stuff. And, you know, Pablo Hidalgo is the guy that actually reads and catalogs all these expanded universe things, all these, you know, character guides and visual dictionaries and stuff like that. But, you know, in having discussions with these and talking about we need some cool names or whatever, I don't know, it might have come up that Kylo Ren. It's January of 2014. They still haven't decided on a name for Jedi Killer. So, you know, it could have been just them sitting around saying, you got any cool ideas for a name for Jedi Killer? And they're like, how about Kylo Ren? And they're like, oh yeah, that kind of works. So even though he denies it and says it's a coincidence, I really don't buy that. So take it or leave it. I'm saying Kylo Ren is the origin, the sort of unconscious, subconscious influence on the origin of the name Kylo Ren. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next episode.